Picture this, right? You've spent hours, literally hours, crafting the absolute ultimate impenetrable argument. You've got your facts perfectly lined up, your logic feels totally flawless, and you are 100% certain you are going to just destroy your opponent in this debate. So you walk into the room, you deliver your opening line with total confidence, and within exactly 2 minutes, they hit you with a counterpoint you never even considered. In an instant, your entire argument collapses right in front of you like a fragile house of cards. So, what just happened? Well, here's the harsh reality. You actually lost long before you even opened your mouth. You see, you fell headfirst into a massive cognitive trap. You meticulously planned for victory, but you completely forgot to plan for reality. Today, in this explainer, we're decoding the ultimate tool for intellectual bulletproofing to make absolutely sure that never happens to you again. Section 1. The problem. Cognitive traps. Okay, to understand why we fail, we really got to look at how our brains process predictions. Believe it or not, human biology makes us dangerously overconfident. Let's look at the first major hurdle, the planning fallacy. When you build an argument, your brain suffers from this incredible bias where you focus exclusively on the specific plan you've developed. You naturally assume that everything's going to go exactly according to that perfectly scripted plan. You just assume the audience is going to nod in agreement, your opponent will be utterly speechless, and your logic will land flawlessly. And then we add overconfidence bias to the mix. It's not just that you think your plan will work, it's that you severely overestimate the accuracy of your own judgments and predictions. You assume that your first impression of a topic is the absolutely correct one. And this overconfidence, well, it prevents you from doing the necessary digging to find potential weaknesses. Finally, your brain acts as this massive shield for your ego, naturally filtering out contradictory evidence through what we call confirmation bias. This means you are quite literally blind to your own flaws. Because you're only actively looking for reasons why you're right, your brain simply doesn't register the information that threatens your existing beliefs. Let me just stop right here and ask you a brutally honest question. When was the last time you prepared for an argument or a big presentation and actually spent more time researching the other person's viewpoint than your own? If you construct your arguments by just searching for articles that already agree with you, your confirmation bias is driving the car, and you might just be heading straight for a cliff without even realizing it. Section 2. The agitation. Blind spots. Here's exactly why this overconfidence leaves even incredibly intelligent people super vulnerable. On one side, you have your plan. Because you only focus on your optimistic scenario, your own little echo chamber, you don't adequately consider unexpected complications. You march into battle with a tiny shield, preparing for a best-case scenario. But on the other side, that's the real world, full of very real counter-arguments your opponent is actively preparing. When you build your argument in an echo chamber, ignoring those blind spots, you are walking straight into an ambush. Now, check out this wild statistical reality check. Events or flaws in an argument that we think have a tiny, negligible 5% chance of happening, yeah, they actually occur 20 to 30% of the time. That tiny, unlikely flaw you thought your opponent would never notice, statistically speaking, they're absolutely going to notice it, and they'll exploit it to dismantle your case entirely. Which brings us to a harsh but absolutely necessary conclusion. Hoping for the best is a terrible debate strategy. You urgently need a better system. You have got to learn to predict your own defeat before your opponent does it for you. Section 3. The solution, the pre-mortem framework. So how exactly do we outsmart our own biological overconfidence and bulletproof our logic? Well, we use a brilliant psychological technique employed by elite strategists and world debate champions called the pre-mortem framework. The engine behind the pre-mortem is a concept called prospective hindsight. Instead of trying to predict what will go right in the future, prospective hindsight requires you to imagine that your plan has already failed spectacularly. You literally project yourself into a future where you lost, and then you work backward to identify exactly what caused that disaster. To execute a perfect pre-mortem, elite debaters follow a very specific 3-step framework. By assuming catastrophic failure, executing the side switch, and considering the opposite, you can effectively stress test your thinking and reveal the fatal blind spots that normal planning completely misses. Let's break down how we actually execute steps 1 and 2. Before you enter the debate, I want you to close your eyes and assume catastrophic failure. You lost. It was a complete disaster. Now, force your brain backwards. What specific evidence did they present that destroyed your case? Then execute the side switch. To truly see your flaws, you have to embrace intellectual empathy. Take out a fresh sheet of paper, put yourself entirely in your opponent's shoes, and write out the 4 best arguments for the opposing side. You need to look at your own case through the eyes of someone who fervently disagrees with you. And finally, we hit step 3. Consider the opposite. Whenever you form a confident conclusion, you must deliberately generate arguments for the exact opposite position. Now, this isn't about losing confidence in your own ideas. It's about making sure your conclusions can withstand intense scrutiny. By anticipating the attacks before they happen, you can adjust your argument and fix the glaring holes before the debate even begins. Section 4. The ultimate strategic advantage. Let's take a step back and really look at what this means for you. Because, look, this framework isn't just some neat little trick. It is practically a psychological cheat code for absolute intellectual dominance. Most people view changing their mind or admitting a potential flaw as a profound weakness. But deliberately finding the flaws in your own argument, imagining a world in which you are wrong, is actually what creates the wiggle room where true humility and brilliant logic arise. You aren't sabotaging yourself by looking for weaknesses. You're giving yourself the ultimate strategic advantage by fortifying your position. A genuine master of debate never assumes their logic is flawless. They know their brain is lying to them with all that optimism and confirmation bias, right? So they actively try to break their own arguments first. So, I'll leave you with this final provocative thought. Are you planning for your own defeat? I challenge you to stop being blinded by your own optimism. Use the pre-mortem. Actively break your own arguments, patch the holes, and walk into your next arena completely unshakable. If you found this explainer valuable, keep exploring these cognitive frameworks with us. Until next time, stay sharp.